Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Yes, I know I've been not uploading for a long time, I'm sorry, I've been really busy as ever, but with current events and also the upcoming Easter holiday, I'm now at a good point where I can settle down a little bit and actually make a few videos. So I'm going to do exactly that. I've still got a few 40k story scripts done and ready, but today I don't want to talk much about lore. Or rather I do, but the long way around. Today is going to be a my thoughts on video, and the topic I wanted to address is probably the most major change to Warhammer 40,000 in the last few months. That being, of course, the Psychic Awakening. Now, the Psychic Awakening came along around about 6 months ago, in October. I think the preview started a little earlier, so 5 or 6 months ago. We got Psychic Awakening as an idea, which was then fully manifested in Phoenix Rising and the Blood of the Phoenix boxed game. And since then, we've had several major updates for the Psychic Awakening and for Warhammer 40,000 as a whole, with new miniatures, new rules, and new lore. And I've ummed and ahed about making this video several times, but as we're now at the stage of the second boxed game, The Prophecy of the Wolf, I think now is as good a time as any to review the first phase of the Psychic Awakening now that we're sort of going into the second loop, if you like, with Psychic Awakening 6. So as I said, there are three major aspects to the Psychic Awakening that I want to talk about. The rules, the miniatures, and the lore. And we'll take them in that order. First off, we have the rules. I've got Psychic Awakening 5 is the book I own because I play Tau. And I will be getting Psychic Awakening 6 because of my orcs. And I have to say, on a rules standpoint, a pure rules standpoint, this series has been a brilliant move by Games Workshop. It's been a brilliant idea, very well executed as well. So for those who don't own a book or who are maybe not Warhammer 40,000 regulars, what this brings in terms of gameplay is new missions. So for example, you've got Caverns of War, which is an interesting thing you can do. An Echoes of War mission is in here as well. And then the three major players in the book, the Tau, the Astra Militarum, and the Genestealer cults, all receive a major rules patch. And I do mean a major rules patch. So for the Tau, you get the updated Commander Shadowsun datasheet. You get customizable set tenets, so chapter tactic equivalents where you can customize them. You get prototype weapon systems, which are effectively pseudo-relics that you give to non-legendary units, including non-characters. So for example, there's some here for Ghost Keels, there's some here for Hammerheads, there's some for Pathfinders, there's all sorts of different prototype weapons. You get new stratagems, which are very, very interesting. You get the 8 datasheet, though that is actually just a reprint from Chapter Approved, just slightly rephrased from Chapter Approved 2018, now that that book is out of circulation. And the Farsight Enclaves get extra rules as well, including 2 commanders per detachment, the new aggressive footing rule, which I really like, some unique stratagems, unique relics, unique warlord traits, and unique tactical objectives. And that's just for the Tau. That, everything I've just told you, could be a full new codex pass. Granted, they've only changed one datasheet, that being Commander Shadowsun's, but custom chapter tactics, custom weapon systems, new stratagems, and unique breakaway faction supplement style rules, that's a codex update. With the exception of not changing any points values and not changing any other datasheets, because it's a mini codex. That's what this is. It's essentially a mini codex for the Tau that updates them and brings them more into line in terms of content with Codex Space Marines, which is entirely what the Psychic Awakening has been about, really. The Astra Militarum gets a very similar treatment. They get, what exactly do they get? They get custom doctrines, the tank aces, new stratagems, and the Ordo Tempestus, so the Militarum Tempestus units, get their own breakaway rules as well. The Genestealer cults arguably get the least of everyone, but they get their rules fully errated, so Cult Ambush and Brood Brothers, as well as new psychic powers, custom chapter tactics, and new stratagems. As a rules update for £25–30 UK, that's 3 mini codices in one. And that's excellent value. As a rules update, this has been excellent value in the Psychic Awakening because it has brought us all the factions in the game brought into line in terms of content with Codex Space Marines. Has it brought them onto line power-wise? No, not at all, and that's why the Space Marines balance pass has had to happen. But in terms of giving them the content that all the armies deserve, it has brought them into line with Space Marines in as quick a way as I think GW could do it. Because in the space of 5 or 6 months, they've updated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and now with Psychic Awakening 6, 15, 16 factions, give or take. And obviously Psychic Awakening 7 is updating 3 more, maybe even 4 more, and Psychic Awakening 8, War of the Spider, which we assume is going to be Psychic Awakening 8, with a Fabius Spile, is going to bring another update to whatever's in there. You've pretty much updated the entire game without releasing a codex in the space of 9 months, which for Games Workshop's turnaround is very impressive, and with the responsiveness of the Space Marine nerf and all the other things going on, I think this is an excellent move rules-wise. And they look like great fun. The prototype weapon systems are hilarious, the Farsight Enclaves look amazing, and I can't wait to use them once I get a chance to play. I'm really looking forward to actually putting this book through its paces on the tabletop, which brings me on to, well, the tabletop and the miniatures. Unsurprisingly, since you can now be fielded with all armies of Tau, I have purchased a Commander Shadow Sun. I slightly reposed, I talked about this on the Jax Podcastus, but that's my Shadow Sun. I really like this miniature, by the way, I will say, and that feeds into this second topic. The miniatures of Psychic Awakening have genuinely, overall, been excellent. The Shadow Sun miniature, as I've said, I really, really like. Mephiston, I think, is a really good update. Janezar is fine. Drazhar is excellent. Master Lazarus is there, but it's a Primaris Master for the Dark Angels, so nice. And the Chaos Sorcerer with Psychic Awakening 2, whilst also just being there because of the Sisters of Battle taking the priority, is still a very nice miniature and a very classic callback miniature. So the miniatures they've released have been excellent, and whilst we'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, the Ragnar Blackmane and Ghazghkull Thraka miniatures, both of which are shown on screen now, are absolutely excellent miniatures. I really like the new Ragnar, even though I'm not a Space Wars player, and I really like the new Ghazghkull, though I do want to tinker with it a bit when I eventually get my hands on it. Which brings me on to the last point about Prophecy of the Wolf, but we'll get there in a couple of minutes, because for all the good the Psychic Awakening has done, it's not been a clean sweep. Lore-wise, I can't help but feel disappointed in the Psychic Awakening, because a lot of the events take place between the onset of the Cicatrix Maledictum and the modern day. They're filling in the blanks left behind by the Codex setup, if you will, and maybe expanding on it a little bit. But it doesn't feel like we've seen anything major, well, happen in the Psychic Awakening. Despite this idea of humanity and the galaxy's psychic presence exploding, we haven't seen that reflected really anywhere. Even in here, where it talks about the Gevesa, the Gene Stealer cults, and the Astra Militarum all at once, you never get the sense that there is an explosion in psychic activity and a huge onset of psychic power in this book. It just doesn't feel that way at all. And even though they do talk about the breakouts of insanity and things like that, it's because it's explained from a Tau perspective, they don't understand the psychic side. And it's just like, okay, so some of the non-Tau are going insane. And it just doesn't feel like a Psychic Awakening. And that might just be because I've only got book 5. Because I haven't felt like buying the other books for the lore. In Psychic Awakening 1, Janezar dies, but Yvraine comes along, and then Drazhar dies, but he seems to be a Phoenix Lord. Ergo, no one died. Craftworlders and Ynnari get the moral victory, but it's effectively a score draw. Psychic Awakening 2, I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know who won that fight. I assume it's a grinding stalemate, because that's how most of these things go. Psychic Awakening 3, Yes, they're going on a crusade again after protecting Baal. They've rebuilt, they're on the go, they're doing some work, but they're also not doing some work. They're sort of stuck in another stalemate with the Tyranids. Great. Psychic Awakening 4, the Ritual of the Damned will have failed. Though they do drop some hints in here. There's a short little... I can just find it. The Echoes of Awakening, talking about the fact that a lot of Gene Seed has been lost, and the Grey Knights lost a lot of their Gene Seed to Magnus, which is interesting, but doesn't feel like it's anything relevant. It's just, oh, Magnus has some Gene Seed now. Is that going to go anywhere? Maybe, it might, but these things often have a habit of not going anywhere. So, on a lore front, it's been a little bit disappointing, but that might be about to change because of, as I hinted to earlier, Prophecy of the Wolf. This is the second box game for Psychic Awakening, and it is the big showdown that we didn't know we were getting between Ragnar Blackmane and Ghazghkull Thraka. The shorts that come in the build-up to this, and I think there's a audio drama by David Annandale, which I'm assuming will set this battle up, has Ragnar and Ghazghkull going at it, and both of them dying. Ragnar gets his neck broken and his armor shattered, and Ghazghkull gets decapitated, assumedly by a lucky shot. So, that sets up the upgrades, and now they're going to go at it again. And that's what this box is. This story has the potential to be interesting, because with the Psychic Awakening, is that going to do something to the Curse of the Wolfen? What has that meant for Ghazghkull's visions of Gork and Mork, for the Great War in general? What has that meant for the Orcs and Space Wolves? And what effect has that had on the wider galaxy? Which I don't think we have really seen in the Psychic Awakening up to now. But they've done it in a box game, and this deserves talking about. And I know I'm not the first. I know Kyrioth's made a video about it. I know Valrak's made a video about it. But I wanted to weigh in as well as someone who is an Orc player and a big fan of Ghazghkull. I have very mixed feelings about the fact that this is a boxed game. As an Orc player, I'm actually okay with what's in the box. Ghazghkull, obviously, and Nobs, I think, are probably the best kit in the Orc range due to its versatility, and the Mega Nobs kit is great. And with the ability to make a big mech, I already own some Mega Nobs, so I can make a squad of 5 and have a big mech left over. So for me, that's great. For any Space Wolf players, you get Ragnar Blackmane and 10 Primaris Generibobs. Okay, that's a bit rubbish. It's a bit rubbish, in all honesty, for the Space Wolves. Even though they outnumber the Orcs, which is kind of hilarious in its own right, you don't feel like that's a Space Wolf army. I'd have been tempted to add a unit of Reavers to give them that up-close feel, if you want to stay all Primaris, or maybe add in something really like Wolf Guard, or Wolf Scouts, or anything to make them feel a little bit more like Space Wolves rather than Primaris and a Space Wolf. Because that is sort of the problem with the Primaris, is that they have kind of homogenized the Space Marines a little bit. Whether you love them or loathe them or not, that is a side effect. So the Space Wolves have definitely not got a great deal out of this box. And at the asking price of about £100, again, as an Orc player, I'm happy with that price, because Nobs are about 18 quid, Mega Nobs are about 30 odd quid. So Ghazghkull is effectively free if I'm paying for half the box. If I'm paying for the full box, then the Space Wolves are effectively free, because Ghazghkull's going to cost something like 50 quid. So I get a free pile of Space Wolves. But this is the only way to get Ghazghkull and Ragnar right now. And if you are a Space Wolf player who doesn't care about Orcs and doesn't have an Orc playing friend, well, right, great. So what do? You've got 2 big boxes of Orcs that you have nothing to do with, and a named character that someone would bite your arm off for, so you've got to go and eBay it. Or sell it at your friendly local gaming store if you know someone who is an Orc player. And if you're an Orc player like me, do I have to sit on Ragnar until I can ask my Space Wolf friends to take it off me? Or do I then go and sell it on? Because that would be cool. Or do I just keep it and work on it for my own ends, even though I'm never going to play Space Wolves because I don't like Space Wolves? And I think that this would be fine as a very limited time constraint. they need to very, very quickly get Ghazghkull and Ragnar out on their own. Because Jainzar and Drazhar, and the Howling Banshees and Incubi for that matter from Blood of the Phoenix, only went on general sale individually a few weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, i.e. 4 months later. It took 4 months, maybe even 5 months, to get Jainzar and Drazhar, two very important named characters, and the huge upgrade to the Incubi and the Howling Banshees on the shelves after they were released. 4 or 5 months. You apply that to Ghazghkull and Ragnar, they're not hitting the shelves until July. August maybe, until you see Ghazghkull and Ragnar on the shelves, individually. Which is ridiculous. That you've locked two of the most iconic characters in Warhammer 40,000 history behind a paywall, potentially until late summer. That's madness. So I think they really have to quickly get Ghazghkull and Ragnar out of the box and onto the shelves. Maybe run Prophecy of the Wolf as its own thing for 6 weeks. Have it as a 6-week run where all you sell is the box game, and then you pivot immediately and get Ghazghkull and Ragnar out of the box and onto shelves individually, so that those who didn't want to buy the box game don't have to buy the box game, because box games are really, really expensive, and some of us don't want all that extra stuff. I don't mind the extra Orc Elite, but if you're someone who plays Speed Freaks and exclusively Speed Freaks and doesn't use infantry, this box is useless to you unless you want Ghazghkull. If you're someone who plays with hordes of boys, it is kind of useful to you. If you play a fully mechanized army, you might not have the vehicles to put these guys in, therefore it's useless to you. We'll see what they do, but I hope that we are not in a situation like we had with Psychic Awakening 1, where the event exclusive and very important named characters are locked away for 4 to 5 months. But in general, I'm not opposed to a box game. I'm not opposed to the contents of the box, though I do feel the Space Wolves get a very raw deal compared to the Orcs. And I'm not opposed to having this exclusive period where you have the box game as the only way to get the miniatures in an incentive to drive the sale, because otherwise people will just do what I did with Shadow Sun, buy the named character, buy the book, and that's it, done. But you can't make that last too long because of the importance of these characters. Jainzar and Drazhar was bad. This would be ridiculous if they were kept out for 4 or 5 months because of their importance and their sentimental value. Because the longer they stay in the box game, the longer the price gouging on places and online retailers, the people selling them on second hand who don't want them, the higher the price is going to go because people don't want to buy the full box set. So GW has the power to make this a completely fine move, but if they spend too long before Ghazghkull and Ragnar come out separately, I think they'll have made a major mistake. And that's it. That is my thoughts on the Psychic Awakening, and in particular, as I spent nearly half the video talking about it, the Prophecy of the Wolf box set. Overall, I think the Psychic Awakening has been a huge success for a rules update perspective and for a miniature design perspective. They've done a fantastic job at updating some classic miniatures and updating all the armies in as fast and efficient a way as possible without redoing the entire codex run. I think that's been a great move. Lore-wise, it's been kind of weak, and with the new Prophecy of the Wolf, they have a chance to actually do a lot of lore impact whilst also introducing new miniatures and new rules, hopefully in an accessible way, so that Ragnar and Ghazghkull aren't locked away for too long. But that's just my opinion, and of course, I am only just one person. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of Psychic Awakening? Has it been a good thing? Has it been a bad thing? Has it been a medium thing? What's been good about it? What's been not so good about it? What do you think of Prophecy of the Wolf? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and we might be able to have a little bit of a discussion. As for my next video, I'm thinking it will be a 40k stories upload, and I'm aware that we've hit 30,000 subscribers, so I need to work on the special for that. I know exactly what it is, and now I've got a bit of downtime, I know exactly what I need to do to make it happen. I'll give you a hint, it's a tutorialis video, and I'll give you another hint, it's one I've been dreading ever since I started the series. So, thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and this has been my thoughts on the Psychic Awakening. Thank you very much. I'll see you all again. Bye for now.